Here at Bitcoin on Point, we are active in multiple trades. One is already secured in profits. The other is sitting at a key demand zone. And finally, our last trade is preparing for a potential explosive move. Now, the crazy part is, all of this is happening whilst Bitcoin is sitting at a major decision level on the higher time frame. The monthly structure just got swept. The daily resistance is being tested, and 4-hour support is reacting. This is not a random moment in the market. This is one of those moments that decides the next big move. Now, we're not guessing. We are positioned. This is Bitcoin on Point, where I break down the market in real time and emotion free. In today's video, I'm going to show you, whilst the monthly structure shift is not confirmed yet, it's still dangerous, why the 72k level is the most important level to reclaim on the daily, and why the 4-hour reaction changes the short-term momentum. The full update on our Ethereum trade will also be shared, the consolidation setup on Pump, and how SPX has already hit TP1 and is now managed risk-free. You'll understand exactly where the market stands and exactly how we're positioned around it. If this video gives you clarity, let's aim for a strong like target today, and subscribe if you want that structured, no noise breakdown. Now, let's zoom out to our macro before diving into the charts, because crypto sentiment just shifted. Eric Trump has said that crypto is about to go parabolic. And at the same time, President Trump has clearly stated no central bank digital currency. That's huge, because a CBDC means control, and rejecting it means protecting decentralized assets like Bitcoin. But here's where the real fuel lies. CFTC Chair Michael Selig just confirmed that under current leadership, the US is close to passing a full crypto market structure law. Now, they're talking about regulatory clarity, reduced manipulation, and up to $2 trillion in potential liquidity. So if that bill passes, this isn't just bullish. This is structural adoption. So whilst retail is still confused, policy, regulation, and political momentum are quietly aligning. And when clarity hits, that's where capital moves fast. Now, with that in mind, let's move on to Bitcoin on the monthly time frame. Now, it's evident to note that since 2023, Bitcoin has been forming this higher high, higher low structure. Now, we did tap out at 126k, and since then we've seen a decline. Now, the first major area or point of contact that we actually saw was back down on the higher low from April of 2025. Now, if you analyze this structure, we have 1, 2, 3 higher highs and 2 higher lows. So Bitcoin did initially come back down, retest the second higher low from the April lows of 2025 at 73k. But what we're actually seeing in February is a sweep scenario. So Bitcoin is actually dipping below the second higher low, which was the April support zone, right? So we've actually swept beneath that. And whilst doing so within the sweep, this is where it's brought Bitcoin back down to the first higher low setting in this structure. And this higher low sits back in the August lows of 2024, roughly at sort of 55 to 60k. So this is why this sweep is so important. This is why 60 to 50k is a critical inflection point. Because if the bulls step in here, just like they did back in August and September, this could just be a false breakout to the downside with a very sharp, a very strong potential, should I say, of actually seeing a bullish reversal back to new all-time highs very soon. Analyzing the structure to the left, we've got the 3 higher highs, the 2 higher low scenarios, and if Bitcoin comes back down and retests either one of these scenarios, which is what it's actually doing now, right? It's actually swept the first higher low and is now resorting back to the second higher low demand pocket. That's exactly what's happened. This was the first higher low, right, from April of 2025. In February, we're sweeping below it, and we're back down at the second higher low territory, which is where we could actually see that major bounce whilst fear is being priced in. So this is a critical inflection point, right? If the support is held, it paves way to new all-time highs. If it's lost, then 40k is a real possibility. So this is why the monthly time frame is a critical standoff moment. Now, with that in mind, we're going to look at Bitcoin on the daily, and Bitcoin was respecting a higher low ascending level of support, right? And I wanted initially to see closes above this trend line because 72k is really and truly the price that we need to close above to flip bullish in the short term. So closing below this trend line isn't really a good sign. However, there is a bullish order block that we're actually sitting on right now at 67K. So where we are, we're stuck between previous support and sitting on bullish order block support. We're in a pretty tricky spot. So really and truly, 72K is the level that Bitcoin needs to break in the short term in order to push towards 80K, which is where we could see a potential market structure shift, right? This was a previous level of resistance that Bitcoin actually fell from roughly 80K to 60K. So if 72K is broken in the short term and the weekly bullish order block is respected at 60K, then this is where we could see a move to 80K. I hope that's not too confusing, right? We need to defend 60, break 72, and that opens the path to 80, right? It's that simple. And we have the bullish order block respecting us, and we also have the lows below at 60K, which could be a sort of higher low or double bottom scenario if we actually lose support before looking to go for that 72K push, right? So again, the daily is also sitting right on a knife edge at the moment. Bullish order block holds it as support, but 72K is the main resistance above. Now, with that being said, we're going to take it into the 4-hour time frame. So we're just making an overall picture. 60K is the base level that the bulls need to hold here to push to new all-time highs. Again, it's the same as the weekly bullish order block, which sits in the same price zone. The Bitcoin has to respect and at least build higher lows whilst breaking 72K. And this is why the 4-hour chart is explaining this perfectly, right? We're looking at that 72K level precisely here. So we did have a bear flag pattern that I was looking at for Bitcoin. When we last rejected at 72K, we formed this flagpole. We then created this rising wedge or rising channel, which created the flag. And the breakdown target was back down to the weekly bullish order block, back down to the prior lows from February, roughly at 60K. However, we do have this ascending level of support, and that target didn't get met. The pattern actually failed. And what Bitcoin did was mark a higher low on this black trend line and then rallied back up to 72K. So this is why 72K is a major level of resistance to break in the short term, because for the last sort of couple of weeks, we've been rejecting it. And again, we saw recent rejection on Sunday, just gone. But fear not. Again, we do have ascending support below that could act as a level of support to see a bounce, a strong reaction. And we do have this order block on the 4-hour time frame that sits at sort of 66 to 67K. So if the bulls can defend the trend line and defend the order block, this is where we could see a reaction and actually start taking 72K out and looking for that market structure shift at 80K. So it's all about the bulls stepping in on the lower time frames, right? Which evidently ties into the major demand on the macro. So if Bitcoin does hold support, fantastic. Again, if it does lose it, just like we analyzed on the daily, this is where we could see a sweep back into sort of 60K, right? Back into the weekly bullish order block and the lows that we had back in February. So it's a critical inflection point in the market right now. However, with that being said, let's dive into our trades, because this is where success is being paved. We have SPX, our 4-hour trade setup, where we've just hit our TP1. We had a fantastic entry point, which was back down roughly, I think, about 31 cents. And our original stop loss was actually back down at, I think it was roughly something like 27 cents. So we got our entry and price has now rallied back up into TP1 after pushing off of the order block. So right now, what I've actually done within that sort of success and hitting our TP1 is moved our stop loss up to break even. Right? So we're minimizing risk here. We've hit TP1, so therefore we're bringing the stop up, right? Hit TP2, fantastic. If not, we have a break-even SL. Everything is minimized and risk is controlled. Now, with that being said, let's head over to ETH, which is at a bit more of a balance right now. ETH is sitting on a critical support line. We have ascending support that's being respected, and we also have this order block support from the previous lows back on Friday, roughly at 1.92K. So as long as ETH defends the trend line and defends this order block on the 4-hour, this could pave way to the expansion towards our profit zones, right? Towards our TP areas. However, if ETH does lose support of this trend line, this paves way for a sort of slip back down into the weekly bullish order block at 1.8K, and it wouldn't be too tasty for our trades as we'd be entering areas that would trigger our stop losses, right? However, look, guys, you can't win them all. SPX is doing fantastic, hit TP1. ETH is on a balance. We do have support below, and we're simply waiting for the reaction to unfold for this trade. Now let's move on to pump, because this is where a potential explosive setup is building. We're not actually executed, or we're not in this trade yet. However, our stop loss is, our entry point, is waiting below. And if we do see a sweep from this high back down into the order block, this is where we could position a perfect entry and look to push towards our TP zones, right? So it's all about waiting for the execution. We're not rushing anything. We're positioned. We're waiting for the reactions. We saw a lower high resistance level. Charts are now pulling back into the order block. If it comes to our entry, we execute and we wait for the potential expansion towards our TP targets. It's that simple. Guys, look, we're capitalizing on multiple trades right now during a volatile market, right? Bitcoin is sitting at key structure. The monthly is having a sweep. The daily is in a deciding moment at near 72K, and the 4-hour has had failed patterns and structures at critical demand. Whilst that's happening, we're executing all of these trades, and we're doing this live in Telegram, right? We've got all the accessibility. All of the executions are live in our free Telegram. The link for that is in the description, and all my trades are efficiently tracked and monitored on Profits Precision. This dashboard allocates everything for us. It tells us how many trades we've taken, our streaks, the wins, the losses, the total P&L, and our account inside a $10,000 to $100,000 trading challenge is currently up $678. So all of these executions are being shared in real time, emotion-free, for free inside the Telegram. Make sure you're heading over to check it out. The links are in the description. Get involved in the community. Now, with that being said, summarizing the video, Bitcoin is at a critical sweep support zone. The daily is trying to break 72K, but is showing bearish selling pressure. Weekly bullish order blocks wait below at 60K. The 4-hour is showing critical compression and support. And our trades are going just fine. Some are on an edge. Some are hitting TPs. It's just an active environment. Guys, head over to Profits Precision and to the Telegram. The links are all in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.